He's John McClain, longtime columnist of the Houston Chronicle, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, John?
Rich, I'm not wearing pants.
See? John's American.
Come on now. You've probably taken more plane flights than anybody. Have you ever seen somebody take their pants off on a plane flight, John?
I have never seen anybody take their pants off on a plane.
Not even Stabler?
On a plane.
Not even Stabler on an Oilers team flight?
Never. Maybe in the bathroom if there was a flight attendant, but not when he was in his regular seat. And by the way, Rick,
yes,
if you take your pants off, you might shave a little time off that 40-yard dash.
Yes, that's what people keep saying. But there is a standard still that I must adhere to, John. And I think we all know there's a line that can't be crossed on that front. But that's 2 months from now, by the way. Right around now is when I'm going to run it in 2 months. Combine's early March this year. Let's set the Texans up here. And Brock Osweiler, who was named the starter today. If Savage could go, would Bill O'Brien have gone in that direction, John?
If Tom Savage had been cleared from the concussion protocol, he would be the starter. Problem is they already started practicing today. If Ben Roethlisberger gets a concussion and doesn't practice 2 or 3 days, it's no big deal. But when you got the worst passing offense in the history of the NFL and your quarterback is hurt, they need all the practice that they can get. So Tom Savage is not starting because he hasn't been cleared. He could be cleared later in the week, but that's too late. They got to practice for a Saturday game against the Raiders.
All because of and he suffers it on a quarterback sneak, John. I mean, so what has gone wrong with Osweiler this year? Why has it not worked, John?
He's been mediocre at best. One of his better games was against the Raiders at Mexico City, in which he staked the Texans to a 20-13 lead in the fourth quarter, and then Derek Carr threw 2 touchdown passes to win 27-20. And what made Osweiler's performance even more impressive is some moron was shining a laser in his face the whole time.
That's right.
And we thought, well, maybe they need to find that moron and bring him back for the wild card game because it forced him to concentrate more, and he played well. He played pretty well off the bench at Tennessee. They were playing their JV on defense, but he had a touchdown pass and a touchdown run, both on fourth down. But fans here are in an uproar because they do not want Osweiler starting, but they have no choice.
Yeah, I've got John McClain of the Houston Chronicle here on the Rich Eisen Show. So is it really true that sight unseen, Rick Smith, Bill O'Brien, Mr. McNair did not at all have a chat with Brock Osweiler before signing him to this contract this offseason?
Well, it's the period when it's illegal, and then it becomes legal. And the day it became legal, Jimmy Sexton wanted to pull the trigger. So if you say no, then he's going to stay in Denver for 16 a year. And if you say yes, no, you don't have time. You can't say we want to bring him in and parade him around. They knew him. They had practiced against him. They'd started against him in the last 2 preseasons. And why would it be important to talk to a player? He's a great talker. He would say all the right things. To me, Rich, that's one of the most overblown things in free agency I've heard in my 38 years, that they didn't talk to him ahead of time. They did hold up the news conference for a long time because they were talking to him for 2 hours about the system before he signed his contract.
And so why would it be overblown, though? I mean, don't you think you want to look someone in the eye before giving them that money? I mean, as much as you can ask somebody what he's like, and from what I hear, he's a hard worker, and that this isn't anything to do with him being lazy or heavy-pocketed and not wanting to do anything to improve his lot.
He does everything right till he gets on the field. He's in here at 5:30 every morning. He stays late, does things with his teammates, works hard. But then when he gets on the field, he's woefully inconsistent. The problem with meeting somebody, if the agent says we're doing the deal today, and you say we want him to come in here and we want to talk to him, or we want to fly to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, where he was, then they'll just stay with the Broncos. So they didn't have a chance. It was greatly orchestrated by Jimmy Sexton.
Well, what happens if Well, I mean, if the Raiders were coming in with Derek Carr, I'd be a little bit more certain about it. But with Connor Cook, I mean, let's hit that real quick. Have you, in any of your years of covering football, seen anything quite like what's happened to the Raiders and being able to maybe start the first rookie in the history of the Super Bowl era to make his first start in the playoffs?
Never. I don't believe that's been done, at least in the Super Bowl era, and he'll be going up against the NFL's number one defense. Romeo Crennel has done a fabulous job without J.J. Watt and other players. They don't have great sacks that people. They don't have a lot of turnovers, but they don't give up a lot of yards. Probably the worst time they had this year, Rich, was the late in the game in Mexico City when they just ran out of gas and the Raiders had two long touchdown passes to beat them. But it'll be very, very difficult for Carr, whether it been Matt McClain. It wasn't easy for Derek Carr in the regular season because this defense is really good. If the passing game had just been mediocre, they might have won 11 or 12 games.
So what happens if Osweiler flops or they advance, but it's not because of Osweiler? Is it possible they go after Romo in the offseason?
No,
John?
absolutely not. They will not be going after Tony Romo. They're on the hook for $25 million on Osweiler next year. They can get out of that deal in 2 years when Savage's contract is up, if indeed Savage is the guy. But right now, Savage looked really good off the bench. He looked good in the second half against Cincinnati. His offensive line has been mediocre in pass protection for the most part, and they haven't had Lamar Miller, their 1,000-yard runner, the last two games when Savage has played. So they don't have a good picture of what Savage can do when he's got everybody with him. And I think if they win against Oakland and Osweiler is not terrible, I think he'd start in New England. And I'm sure they're going to play in New England because no way Miami's going to lose twice beat Pittsburgh 2 times. And but if he is just awful, then I think they go back to Savage because Savage would be the quarterback if he was healthy.
And Vince Wilfork, if they wind up in New England, that would be interesting. He was talking openly about retirement, saying that he's thinking about it for the first time. John, what do you think?
Said he's seriously, his contract's up. I'm going to say he goes into retirement, and his last game will be where it all started in Foxborough in 2004.
And last one for you. Congrats on getting James Harden back, the old James Harden. Where's this coming from?
Has been fabulous. Mike D'Antoni's done a tremendous job. The Rockets are good. They're fun. They're a game behind the Spurs, and people here are pumped. Watching Harden every night, one triple-double after another. He's already had as many triple-doubles this season as he's had in his entire career, Rich. It is just fun to watch.
I mean, so when I come to the city, there will be a Mike D'Antoni Way, right? They've already named a street after him with this.
They've already named one, Mike D'Antoni Way, right by James Harden Avenue. Way out in the back on the other side of the tracks is Dwight Harden Street.
I mean, he's been incredible, John. I mean, he really, truly, in all honesty, we all knew that Russell Westbrook would be an MVP candidate this year because he would be balling out. No Durant there, but the Harden reclamation has been truly, I think, the surprise of the NBA season so far.
When he and Dwight Howard were here, it was always drama. Dwight was always drama. Now there's no drama. With D'Antoni putting him at the point guard, we call it points guard because he's racking them up, and they're playing better. Every move Daryl Morey made in free agency has worked. They got depth. They also got 3 games here during the Super Bowl, so if you need any tickets, let me know.
I would love to see them. There's no question about that.
You got to wear your pants, though.
Look, John, deal. That's a deal. Thanks for joining. We'll see you in a few weeks.
My pleasure, Rich. Thank you very much, as always, and Happy New Year.
You got it. It's John McClain.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.